Hey kiddos, today what we're digging into is story elements. So we've been working really hard this year on informational passages. And what we're going to kind of start switching gears into this week is just kind of like a warm up, a review of things you should have learned in the lower grades. And then when we come back from Christmas, we'll really hit fiction pretty hard. But what we're doing today is we're just kind of doing like a review of what we know about fictional elements of a story. And then we're using some fun Christmas stories to kind of do that review. And so today, what you should have already done is you should have already listened to the All of the Other Reindeer read aloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this template. You're going to have the exact same one for when you do yours. And I'm going to walk through and I'm going to demonstrate to you what setting is, what characters are, what the moral of a story is, and what the mood of a story is. And I'm going to show you how to answer questions using All of the Other Reindeer. And then what you're going to go back and do is you're going to listen to Polar Express, and then you're going to fill out these same questions, okay? So, setting. We know setting is where the story takes place. Okay, so what you'll see is when you have this, you'll actually be able to click on the setting, click on the slide. It's going to take you right to the setting question. Okay, it says, what is the setting of Polar Express? And there can be more than one. Why is setting important to a story? So I'm going to answer this question not for Polar Express, but for All of the Other Reindeer. So I would say, I'm going to restate my question. The setting for Olive the Other Reindeer, I'm going to say is the North Pole, even though they kind of travel all over the world throughout the story. So remember, we know that setting is where the story takes place, is the North Pole. And I would say Olive and Santa travel all over the world delivering presents. Oops. There we go. All right. So this is like what we said, there can be more than one story. So I've answered where the story is actually taking place. And it says there can be more than one. So I've given my setting. And then there's a second question here that says, why is setting important in a story? I would say setting is important because in Olive, she wouldn't have been able to do all of those things if she hadn't been traveling with Santa. Okay, so I'm saying that the setting was important because Olive wouldn't have been able to learn who she was and overcome all of those issues that they were having and be a problem solver if she hadn't been traveling with Santa, if she hadn't gone to the North Pole. Okay, so that's why setting was really important in Olive. So our second focus on story elements is characters. Now, we know a character is anything that can think, okay? It's who or what the story is about. And so here what we're going to do is we're going to answer some questions about the characters in our story. So this question says, who are the important characters in Polar Express and why are they important? So I'm not actually talking about characters in Polar Express. Remember, I'm talking about Olive. So I'd say the characters were Olive, Santa, and the reindeer. They are important. Say Olive is important because she is the main character of the story. Let's put a period there. Oh, I didn't even see that I had spelled that wrong. Sometimes my little fingers move faster than my brain. Santa is important because he gets all of the chance to show what she is made of. Okay, so answering who the characters are and then answering why they are important. So these are the two that I felt like we should know these. We know what setting is, we know what characters are, but what I want to kind of spend a little bit of time with is moral of the story and then mood of the story. Okay, so moral of a story. This is a lesson, kiddos. This is what lesson did the character learn, or what lesson can we as readers learn from our story? Every author, when they're writing a fictional story, they're wanting us to take away something from it. They want us to learn a lesson from it. And so the moral of the story is, what can we learn? What's that lesson that the author wanted us to learn. So this says, what is the moral or the lesson we can learn from the story? Why is that what you picked? And so what I'm typing in here for Olive, and this is where you want to think really hard about Olive and what she had to go through and what she overcame. I would say Olive learned to never give up and to go after your dream, even if it seems impossible or others tell you that you can't do it. Olive was not a reindeer, but that was her dream. That's what she thought she needed to do. Remember, she heard the song, and it was instead of all of the other reindeer, she said Olive, the other reindeer. So she went to go be a reindeer. Now, instead of her saying, like when the reindeer are like, you're not a reindeer, you're a dog, she doesn't give up. And so it's also a lesson to us that no matter our shape or our size or who we are, we can do anything we put our minds to. And that's kind of the lesson that Olive had to learn as she went through. Now, I'm not going to pick why, I'm not going to tell you why I picked that one because I don't want to give away like why you're going to pick the one you pick for Polar Express. Okay. But I want you to think after you tell me the lesson that you're going to learn from Polar Express, why you think that's an important lesson. Okay. Why is that a lesson that we think is important? And then our last one, kiddos, is mood. Now, mood of a story is like the feeling. Okay. What is the feeling that we get when we read the story? The author intentionally picks words to give us a feeling. Now, I want you to think back to when we did Blood, Smoke, and Freedom. In that very first section, Lauren Torres, who is the author, said things like, there were men laying on the ground, the wounds or the moans of wounded soldiers. He was desperate. It was either surrender or die. She picked all of that really strong imagery, all of those words to give us that mood of like, oh my gosh, this is scary. I'm fearful. So the author likes to pick words to give us a mood or give us a feeling. And so the question you're going to answer is, what is the mood or the feeling of Polar Express? And then how did the author set that mood? I'm going to answer the question of what is the mood or the feeling of all of the other reindeer. And I think the mood or the feeling is, I think the mood is hopeful because Olive never gave up and she helped out any way she could along the way. Okay, so that's my answer there. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to go back in and I want you to listen to Polar Express. And then I want you to think about all of these things and answer those questions along the way. So remember, if you ever forget what they are, I kind of tell you in the question, but remember setting. So where the picture, oh my goodness, where the story is taking place. Characters are who the story is about. It's anything that can think. Okay, a table could be a character as long as it had thoughts and feelings. So it's who the story focuses on. The moral of the story is the lesson we can learn from the story, and the mood of a story is the feeling that we get when we read. Okay, kiddos? All right, well, let me know if you need anything, and I cannot wait to see. I know you've probably read Polar Express before, especially if you've gone to school at Cross County, but I can't wait to see what you learn from it now that we are digging deeper into these story elements. All right, let me know if you need anything. Great job, kiddos.